There are moments on live television that refuse to fade quietly into the archives. Not because they were shocking for shock's sake, but because they cracked open something raw, unresolved, and deeply uncomfortable. Today, we're revisiting one of those moments, the Good Morning Britain clash between Piers Morgan and Alex Berisford following Prince Harry and Meghan's interview. And let's be clear from the outset. This conversation was never just about Meghan Markle. It was about race. It was about power. It was about whose pain is believed, whose voice is dismissed, and how media institutions decide what counts as truth. What made Alex Beresford's contribution so powerful was not volume or outrage, it was lived experience. He spoke calmly, but with weight, about walking into professional spaces as the only person of colour. About navigating environments where racism doesn't always announce itself openly, but still shapes interactions in quiet, corrosive ways. He shared a moment that stopped many viewers in their tracks, being asked whether he was worried about how dark his son might be. That single word, worried, carried more meaning than 1,000 arguments. Because racism isn't always about hatred. Sometimes it presents itself as concern, as curiosity, as a question that seems harmless on the surface but is loaded with judgment underneath. When someone asks about a child's skin tone as a potential problem, they're revealing something deeper, a belief that darker skin is something to brace for, to fear, to manage. Alex explained something many mixed-race people understand instantly. When you are lighter-skinned, people often feel emboldened. They say things to you they would never say to someone darker, not because those thoughts are innocent, but because they assume you'll absorb them quietly. That confidence alone tells you everything. Piers Morgan, however, wanted to reframe the conversation. He leaned into intent. Was the comment racist by definition? Was it phrased innocently? Could curiosity be mistaken for prejudice? And this is where the divide became painfully clear. Because when you've lived on the receiving end of these remarks, tone is not a footnote, it is the message. Intent does not erase impact. And asking whether something might be racist completely misses the point when the harm has already landed. Alex wasn't arguing that every discussion of race is racism. He was explaining that how something is framed, especially within systems shaped by historical power, determines how it's experienced, and that experience matters. As the discussion continued, Piers shifted the focus away from the issue and back onto Meghan herself. Suddenly, this wasn't about racism, it was about her character, her past, her relationships, her alleged habit of cutting people off. He painted her as unreliable, difficult, manipulative, a woman whose claims deserved suspicion because of who she is. And this is where criticism crossed into fixation. Alex voiced what many viewers had already been thinking. The intensity of Piers' hostility toward Meghan wasn't normal. It wasn't occasional skepticism. It was relentless, day after day of derision. A media campaign so obsessive it bordered on personal. That observation mattered because it named something people felt but couldn't quite articulate. Alex didn't insult him. He didn't shout. He simply said that the behaviour was excessive, unhealthy, and damaging not just to Meghan, but to the wider public discourse. And in that moment, power shifted. For years, Meghan had been spoken about, dissected, and condemned without meaningful resistance. To see someone challenge that narrative in real time, knowing full well the backlash would be brutal, was significant. And the reaction told the story. Instead of engaging, reflecting, or even disagreeing calmly, Piers stormed off the set. That walk-off became the defining image, not because it was dramatic, but because it exposed something fragile. When authority is accustomed to control, accountability feels like an attack. When someone who dominates conversations is asked to listen, discomfort follows. The conversation then moved into even more explosive territory. The claim that Archie's royal title was withheld because of his skin colour. Piers insisted this was factually incorrect, pointing to long-standing royal protocol. And technically, those rules do exist. But Alex drew an important distinction between institutional rules and lived perception. Because when someone already feels scrutinised, isolated, and othered, decisions don't occur in isolation. They're filtered through experience, through pattern, through history. That doesn't mean facts don't matter. They absolutely do. But facts alone don't erase emotional reality, especially when trust has already been eroded. And this is where discussions about racism often collapse. Because racism isn't always overt. It isn't always violent. It doesn't always announce itself loudly. Sometimes it looks like disbelief, like constant questioning, like one person being denied grace again and again while others receive it automatically. This interview and this clash created ripples far beyond that studio. It forced people to confront uncomfortable questions. Who gets empathy? Who gets the benefit of the doubt? And who is expected to endure public humiliation without complaint? You don't have to like Meghan Markle to see disproportionate treatment. You don't have to agree with every claim to recognise when criticism becomes dehumanisation. What Alex Berisford did that morning was rare. He chose courage over comfort. He chose integrity over silence. And he reminded millions watching that basic decency should not be controversial. This wasn't just a TV argument. It was a mirror held up to the media, and to all of us. So I want to hear from you. Did this moment change how you view media power? Did it make you rethink how racism can appear in subtle, everyday ways? And do you think moments like this are still rare, or are people finally starting to speak up? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Like, share and subscribe to Sussex Insights for fearless discussion, clarity over tabloid spin, and conversations that refuse to look away. Stay sharp, stay kind, and I'll see you in the next one.